Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got Thursday night football, the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some Thursday night football. Happy Thursday, everyone. One of the up-and-coming rookie running backs in this league from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty. And on the right, maybe the most underrated quarterback in the NFL overall from the Oregon Ducks, Bo Nix. Going in with the national anthem, and then after that, we should be settled in here in roughly 3-4 minutes, and we'll get off the kickoff. Daniel in the building, what's good? And Denver is favored by 9.5 on the Vegas line. 7-2 record, 4-0 at home. And really the difference this year between Denver in 2025 compared to Denver in 2024 is winning in one-score games. And they weren't able to do it last year. They're doing it this year. So obviously we would assume even if the Denver Broncos have a start, that isn't what you would expect in the first 3 quarters. They play better football in the fourth than pretty much any team in the NFL this season. And then if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you're just trying to be able to get Geno going with Jeanty. You ended up trading away Jacoby Myers, so you don't have to worry about that distraction anymore. And you're definitely gonna, need Brock Bowers and the rest to step up. And again, the defense, Max Crosby's going to have to get a few sack lunches. They need to get some interceptions and fumbles on Bo Nix and the Broncos. Easier said than done. They're 2-6, 1-3 on the road. And again, you never know. Anybody can beat anyone on any given Sunday, Monday, Thursday. We all would assume that Denver will win, but it could end up being a little bit closer than people think. And the final score might end up being between 3 and 10 points. So hopefully it ends up being a competitive matchup. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Marine Bean and Sarah in the building. How are you? And I'm definitely ready for some NFL Thursday night football global broadcast on Prime Video. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And we got a new one that we're going to debut here in a few minutes once we get into the action. Definitely excited about that. Shout out to my Blazers. That was a huge win. We did our very first NBA stream last night, and we went against the undefeated 8-0 Oklahoma City Thunder, the number 1 team in the NBA. Obviously, we know that they just are coming off a championship. SGA is arguably the best player in the league. The Blazers were down by 22 after the first quarter, and I had faith that we would come back, especially on stream, and we slowly but surely chipped away. And in the fourth quarter, we shot 80%, and we were able to get a victory there on the OKC Thunder. So that was, pretty sweet, and again, we will be doing a little bit of Blazers, a little bit of Kraken, a little NBA and NHL mixed in, since obviously baseball season and NASCAR season is over. We will primarily do NFL and college football on the channel, but we will be mixing in some Blazers for the NBA, as well as a little Kraken for the NHL. Hybrid in the building. What's good? Yeah, I'm definitely very looking forward to Oregon playing Iowa. I respect the hell out of your guys' team, and I know that that is a game that we could lose 100%. We haven't really played our best ball, in the last few weeks. And, again, when we played Wisconsin, where we, honored the Grateful Dead with our Grateful, Ducks uniforms, we didn't really get a chance to really celebrate that as much as we would like, especially with Dante Moore going down in the second half, just with a minor injury, and we had to bring in the backups. And it was just raining like cats and dogs in Eugene, which never happens. And, to go on the road, with a team that definitely develops NFL players at a very, very high level, I would know, having a few Iowa Hawkeyes on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like Tristan Wirfs. And again, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a war. And again, let the chips fall where they may. And whoever ends up being victorious, we'll see what happens. And again, I definitely could see that game going either way. But the schedule for today, tomorrow, and moving forward, obviously we are here doing the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos for Thursday Night Football on Prime. On Friday, tomorrow, I believe we'll probably do USC versus Northwestern. I think that's going to be the best thing to do as far as a sports stream for tomorrow. If I decide to flip it and do something NBA or NHL, I will let everyone know on social media. Then on Saturday, we're going to be doing Oregon versus Iowa. That's going to be a barn burner. Can't wait for that. And then obviously Sunday and Monday, we'll do Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, unless I end up doing the Buccaneers and the Patriots at 10 a.m. and Sunday Night Football. That definitely is going to be a very, very good game. And normally in years past, it may have not been like, oh, this might be must-see TV. But with Drake May and the Patriots playing really good ball, it is must-see TV, and definitely excited for the challenge to go against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Yeah, Bo is the real deal. I know a lot of people thought that Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback in that group. And there was a couple good ones, in that draft class. But obviously being available is going to be your biggest asset to the team. And I think Bo is the most criticized. And again, they do start slow in the first 3 quarters. But really the difference, is Bo is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL in the 4th quarter. And we'll see how that plays out here today. Raiders with the football on 1st down and 10. And Denver's wearing their throwback unis. Beautiful blue helmet with that white and red stripe. And obviously with the orange crush, beautiful. Lutz kicked it 65 yards for a touchback. And now we have Geno Smith handing it off up the middle to Ashton Jeanty, going against the number 1 defense in the NFL. And again, by picking up great players from the 49ers, Dre Greenlaw, as well as Talanoa Hufanga, on top of having guys like Nick Bonito, who ended up breaking out last year. This is the real deal Holyfield, even if they don't have Patrick Surtain for a few weeks. Nice tackle there by Talanoa Hufanga, who's having an absolutely fantastic year. What's good, brother? Second down and 10. Shotgun set. Geno going to his first read. And a little hitch route there. And again, not having Jacoby Myers, their number 1, will be interesting to see how these receptions get divvied out. And Thornton there with the short reception. 3rd down and 6. After that 4-yard catch by Thornton. Moss with the coverage. Trips left for Geno Smith, man in motion. Shotgun set for Smith. And going to his check down and right at that 1st down marker, Tyler Lockett. And obviously Geno and Lockett reuniting after both playing in Seattle. Geno moving on here to the Raiders. And Lockett went to the Titans, but we knew at some point that wasn't going to be a fit. And he finds his way here with a familiar face with Geno Smith. Nice catch there by Lockett. 6-yard catch. 1st down, Raiders. First down and 10. Geno hands it off. Ashton Jeanty with a jump cut. And moving the pile a couple extra yards. About a 5-yard gain there. Second down and 5 at the 50. Man in motion. Play action, little bootleg, rolling to his right, pump fake. Geno says, I'm going to run for it. First down, Raiders. Yeah, my best friend Justin is a huge Bronco fan, and again, we pretty much share the same teams for the most part: Mariners, Blazers, Ducks. The only difference, Broncos for him, obviously in that John Elway era, and then Buccaneers for myself. Shotgun set on first down and 10, handoff, and Genty with a short gain. Second down and 7 for the Raiders and Geno Smith. 3-yard gain by Genty. Greenlaw and Tillman with the tackle. And again, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And, Denver could end up being a number 1 seed when it's all said and done. We're not going to ever disrespect, the Bills and the Chiefs' ability, to win games, in the playoffs. Obviously, they have that playoff experience. But again, there are going to be some new teams joining the party, or teams that are better this year joining the party, like the Denver Broncos, who ended up making it last year, but this team is much better in 2025. The Colts and the Patriots are looking like playoff teams. I'm definitely excited to see how the rest of their season goes. And there'll be a few other teams, potentially like the Ravens or the Steelers that might be able to come in, and, we'll see what they end up doing as well. And I assume the Chargers will start slipping back in the standings, kind of similar to the Niners, for one reason only: injuries. And with Joe Alt out again, they don't have Slater or Alt. So that's going to be really tough, for Justin Herbert and that Charger, squad. So I would assume it will be the Chiefs and the Broncos representing the AFC West, and the Chargers will start sliding back and will potentially maybe just barely miss the playoffs. 5-yard penalty there by Mayer. False start. Self-inflicted wounds. You can't have that. Second down and 12 at the Denver 46. Tyler in the building. What's good? Bo Nix from Oregon going against Geno Smith, the former Seattle Seahawks quarterback. Shotgun set on second down and 12. Little check down. And again, you can definitely see the chemistry with Tyler. Get to the door and lock it. Again, we already knew it wasn't going to work out with Cam Ward or any quarterback in Tennessee, a terrible team, regardless if you're getting paid, and finally finding a home where he can actually catch passes from someone that knows his skill set. Nice rapport and chemistry by Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett. Third down and 3 after that 9-yard pass to Lockett. And it seems like he's going to end up taking a good chunk of the looks, since Jacoby Myers ended up getting traded to the Jags, who they just played. And the Jags won in OT. Shotgun set on third down and 3. Broncos bring blitz. Geno steps up, avoids one sack, but not the other. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And I love those Orange Crush unis with the blue, white, and orange striped helmet. And again, I'm not really big into orange, just like, the orange throwbacks, with Doug Williams and the Buccaneers. But if you do pair up with orange with a blue, and it's the right color blue, like these in the John Elway era, it really does bring the orange together, actually making it kind of a desirable look, and something that actually looks good on TV and in person. Just got to find that right shade to match those colors. Big sack lunch there. And Raiders with the punt on 4th down and 8. And that goes out of bounds in the back of the corner of the end zone for a touchback. Oh, they're not even going to give him the touchback. Wow. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. We got a new one that he's been working on for, the last few weeks, last few days. And we finally got a new addition. And here it is. Slapper. Yeah, similar to the Boise State colors as well. Brooks with another one. Incredible talent, and again, there's so many things that, the beats can be used for rappers, R&B singers, rock, pop, reggae, movies, TV, commercials, people that are models doing like a runway. There's so many little things, where, his music and talent can end up being showcased. And I can't wait to be able to see, the next thing that he creates. And I will always support people that have dreams and goals. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. And again, he is an up and coming producer here in the Pacific Northwest. And again, it's just a matter of time, before he links up with that famous artist or that famous person, through that particular network, or, broadcasting, type of mega, location where, you never know where it might end up being placed. And, it's just awesome to be able to see the development of someone that is fully focused, believes in themselves, and has an incredible talent. Shout out to my boy, Brooks Beats. And after that punt, did not go into the back of the end zone. And they're going to list it at the 2-yard line. First down and 10 for Bo Nix. Mike in the building. What's good? Yeah, I think every fan base will call them the creamsicles. I did like the white version with the orange numbers that they wore this year. That's a clean look, but we don't have a blue helmet to match to kind of bring it together. And a little run there as they get jammed up in the back of the end zone. And J.K. Dobbins, who's been good for them, as well as Harvey in the backfield. 6-yard gain. Laulu and Roberts there with the tackle. Second down and 4 at the Denver 8. Lots of wind out there. Swirling winds, and that could be a factor for Bo Nix and Geno Smith at some point in this game. Second down and 4, halfback toss. And tries to get around the corner there. Dobbins with a short gain, reaches the football out towards the marker, but just misses it. Third down and 2 after the 2-yard run by J.K. Dobbins. Snowden with the coverage there for the Las Vegas Raiders. Naylor, baby. And a great tackle there by the Raiders, Max Crosby and company. And that's going to be a gain of 1. 4th down and 1 now for the Denver Broncos. 4th down and 1, and the Broncos with the punt out of their own end zone. And goes down around the 50. Let's see where they end up listing it. I don't know about where you're getting your news, Mike, for Josh Naylor, but I don't see anything with the Seattle Mariners posting that information. You might have to check sources. Where are you getting your sources from? Halfback toss to Genty? If it's not on the Seattle Mariners social media, then it's not true. I mean, I hope we end up getting Naylor, but I haven't heard anything like that here today. And I follow pretty much everything Seattle Mariner related. Farm system, single A, double A, high A, triple A. But, hopefully we end up getting them. No gain for Genty. Singleton in coverage. 2nd down and 10 at the Denver 41. Shotgun set. Gino. And batted down by that beautiful Denver defensive front. 3rd down and long. 3rd down and 10. Yeah, I was going to say 10.9 seemed a little low. Josh is going to be a very, a very wanted baseball player. And again, he's worth a hell of a lot more than that. 3rd down and 10. Shotgun set for Gino. Pump fake. And a little screen pass with a blocker downfield. And jumping for that 1st down marker. And it looks like they will end up giving it to him. 1st down, Raiders. Raheem Mostert, former Niner and Dolphin there. $11-yard pass there from Gino to Mostert. Singleton and Jones in coverage. 1st down and 10. And Trey Tucker with a short gain. Very slippery there. .5:30 and counting here in the first quarter. 0-0 here early between the Raiders and the Broncos. Broncos start very, very slow for the first 3 quarters, and then they turn it on in the 4th. And it wouldn't shock me if that ends up being the same situation here today. Tucker with that 7-yard run. 2nd down and 3 at the Denver 23. Shotgun set for Gino. And there he is. Mayer. Nice grab by him. 1st down, Raiders. TJ in the building. What's good? Nice 11-yard pass there from Gino to Mayer. And he's got his former teammate Tyler Lockett on the squad now. Obviously, as he has to be released from the Titans. And, even though both teams are bad, Titans and Raiders, obviously playing with a quarterback that you're familiar with would be better for Tyler. Halfback toss to Genty and gets bounced around like a bowling ball and finally gets dropped. And I just debuted Brooks's new one here a few minutes ago, and it'll go on, in the cycle here on the channel a few more times before the stream is up. And again, it's just an amazing thing to be able to see, how his brain works when he's, putting and producing these beats together. Fantastic talent. In a few minutes, we'll end up listening to it again. Gino with the little play action bootleg. He's got a man and good coverage there. And Mayer still able to hang on with one hand. Third down. And there'll be a few opportunities for Mayer and Bowers here today. Third down and 2 at the Denver 4. Yeah, both teams made some good moves with Sauce for the Colts and Rashid Shaheed giving you that long, deep ball threat for the Hawks and Sam Darnold. Hand off up the middle, and Ashton Genty, touchdown Raiders. There we go. And nice job by the rookie, Ashton Genty. And again, it's not like Denver gives up too many touchdowns overall, but again, they do start slow in the first, 3 quarters. They're ranked, 20th and beyond in those, pretty much first 3 quarters and a lot of, offensive rankings. But in the fourth, they are one of the top 5 teams, if not the best team in the fourth quarter in the NFL this season. And obviously with a 7-2 record, they are able to win a lot of games that are 1 score or less. And that's really the difference from 2024 to 2025. Bad record in 1-score games last year, great record this year. Extra point is up and good. 7-0 Raiders. And since TJ just dropped in the building, let's drop Brooks's new beat, Abso. And here we go. Ridiculous, man. I mean, there's just so many layers if you actually just pay attention, to music. Every single layer, every single, extra sound effect, everything blended in so perfectly together. Super talented individual. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 7-0 Raiders here on Thursday Night Football on Prime Video. We'll see if Bo Nix can get this Bronco offense going sooner than later. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Yeah, and it was a little bit of a break in between, grinding out beats pretty much every day. And then he had about a week and a half where there was nothing new. And I was about to message him, but I know that, he's got other obligations and other things that are going on. But it definitely was worth the wait. There's no doubt about that. 7-0 Raiders. And Raiders with the kick. I feel like when I listen to Brooks's music, I feel like I'm that cat meme, where the cat is just kind of like bobbing its head. And then they have all different types of, internet things that are attached to that. Incredible. First down and 10 at the Denver 20. And Harvey there with the initial drop, but getting 21 yards. First down and 10 at the Denver 20. Yeah, I did the first NBA stream on the channel for 2025, and I chose a tough game, with going against the undefeated Oklahoma City Thunder. Told people on the channel that I thought we would win. Probably some people thought I was crazy. But again, we played Denver really well a few days ago, and we shot 80% in the fourth quarter, down 22 in the first. And, we chipped away, and we were able to get that big victory. And we had some pretty good views, for the first NBA game. And, we'll be sprinkling a few more Blazer streams in as filler content. Same thing with the NHL and the Kraken on the days where we don't have NFL and college football. Shotgun set on second down and 4. Knicks and steps up in the pocket, and it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Right at sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Big sack lunch there on Bo Nix. And normally Bo ends up throwing that football away, but pocket collapsed, and a nice job there by Butler getting that sack lunch on Bo Nix. Loss of 9. Love Brooks's beats. Love those Denver helmets and unis. And I actually like the Raiders look, though, with the white and the silver, kind of that color rush look. It's pretty fire as well. And a sidearm throw, incomplete. And again, for the Broncos to start slow, this is their MO, And again, obviously they would love to, be more like Kansas City or Buffalo or, some of the other teams in the AFC that start a little bit faster. But it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish. And again, I expect a big fourth quarter for Denver here in this game, and definitely a trap game going against the Raiders in the division. Even though they're only 2-6, anybody can beat anyone, especially if it's a team in your division. Broncos with another punt. And good field position there from the Raiders. And we got a flag on the return. Let's see what they call here. Holding on the receiving team. Timeout is called. Ashton Genty with a 4-yard rush. Touchdown. 3:02 left in the first quarter on an 8-play, 41-yard drive. That lasted about 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Raiders up 7-0 here early with 1:40 left here in the first quarter. It is a tough place to play. We do have great fans, regardless if, we win a couple games or, if we end up winning 60, plus. Again, the fans are very passionate. It's always been like that, here in Oregon. Also another reason we don't have a lot of pro teams in the state, so obviously, a lot of people are, Blazer fans, and then obviously Ducks or Beavers, unless you have a connection to the Huskies or Cougs and you just live in Oregon. And again, you're going to get a number of Hawk fans in Oregon, but you're also going to get fans of every team in Oregon. And you would assume there would be more Hawk fans in Oregon, but there's not as many as people think. There's it's a pretty mixed bag, depending on where you go. And after that offensive holding penalty, first down and 10 at the Vegas 22. And then when we get back here from the commercial break. All right, let's see what we got going here for the Raiders if they can add on to their lead. They're up 7-0 here early. Trips right. Hand off to Genty up the middle. And ripping apart this Bronco defense early. First down, Raiders. Jackson Powers Johnson from the Ducks. And again, struggled in his rookie season, but definitely is starting to come into his own this year. And great to be able to see the improvement in Jackson Powers Johnson. Go Ducks. Nice 10-yard run there. Hufunga and Singleton in there with the coverage. First down and 10 at the Vegas 32. Shotgun set for Gino. Little check down to Genty. And bounces it towards the sideline and a gain of a couple there. First quarter winding down. Less than a minute to go. 6-yard pass from Gino to Genty. Second down and 4 at the Las Vegas 38. Man in motion, a little halfback toss, and wow, nice hurdle. Genty running away, and a big gain by Ashton Genty, but there's a flag on the play, and that might be coming back due to a hold. Hell of a run, though, by Genty. Down to 14 seconds left here in the first quarter. And after that offensive holding call, quarter is about to wrap up here. Second down and 12 at the Vegas 30, and the clock winds down. End of the first quarter, 7-0 Raiders. Second quarter about to start. as we get back from the commercial break. Raiders up 7-0 here early. 2-6 record, 1-3 on the road for the Raiders. And then the Denver Broncos 7-2, 4-0 at home. Not a very good team in the first 3 quarters, Denver, but they definitely turn it up and turn it on in the fourth. And I assume that will be the same script we'll be playing here today in this matchup. Definitely a trap game for Denver here this evening. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Bye-bye. Man in motion. Shotgun set. Gino steps up in the pocket towards the sideline and complete. Brock Bowers, the intended tight end. Third down and 12 at the Vegas 30. Shotgun set for Geno Smith. 3 wide receiver set for the Raiders. Geno, pocket collapsing, and Broncos bring the blitz. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? A Bronco sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And Nick Bonito and company getting in on the action. Bonito is the real deal. He was very, very good last year and getting another sack against the Raiders here today. Loss of 6 yards, 4th down and 18, now on the Vegas 24. And we got a player down for the Raiders. And it's Jackson Powers Johnson, the Oregon Duck. Hopefully he is okay. John Franklin Myers is pushing Jackson Powers Johnson backwards, and hopefully he'll be okay as they go to a commercial break. Of course, I did the live stream yesterday. And even when we were down by 22 in the first, I had a good feeling that we would compete. You never know what you're going to get out of the Blazers. And then the Blazers are kind of similar to the Mariners, where we play up to the competition, Denver Nuggets and Oklahoma City Thunder. And then sometimes we play down to the competition, where you play the Lakers, even though we beat them once. But also when they did not have LeBron, did not have Luka, did not have Austin Reeves, and we got beat up and stomped on. So, when you play down to the competition, there's always a chance for a loss. But again, even when we were down by 22 last night, kind of had a feeling that we would be able to make a little bit of a run, but it also helped. They shot 80%, from the field in the fourth quarter. And again, the Oklahoma City Thunder are no longer undefeated. Now they are still one of the best teams in the NBA with one of the best players, SGA. But with Drew Holiday, playing fantastic, Shaden Sharp doing his thing. Denny Advia might be an all-star this year. He started off really slow in the game and got the job done. Love me some Donovan Clingan, Jeremy Grant off the bench. It's just a nice complement of players, young and old, and we don't even have access to Dame Lillard or Scoot Henderson yet. So, once we're able to implement Scoot here shortly, hopefully that'll be another piece that'll help us win some games. I was hoping that the Kraken were able to win yesterday as well, but it wasn't really their day yesterday. And it's not like they had a bad goalie in net. Joey Decord was in net, and sometimes when you play down to the competition with a team like the Anaheim Ducks, then sometimes you get beat. And Jackson Powers Johnson is limping badly. We're probably not going to see him for the rest of this game, and hopefully it's not season ending. Hate seeing any player get injured, especially former Oregon Ducks. 4th down and 18 at the Vegas 24. Raiders are about to punt. And we'll see if the Broncos and Bo Nix can finally get in the end zone before halftime. Dropped punt, and no pressure by Denver. He picks it up and still is able to get a decent punt off and bounces out of bounds. Or San Jose. That's what I meant. First down and 10 here for Bo Nix. And the opponent has scored in 9 of the 10 games this season as Jackson Powers Johnson's getting carted off back to the locker room. Hopefully he's okay. 14:31 left here in the second quarter. 7-0 Raiders. Shotgun set for Bo. Little play action. Steps up in the pocket, goes down to his check down, and looked like the pass by Harvey was dropped. Looks like it's going to be a hold on Denver. 10-yard penalty by holding by the Broncos. Mercedes Lewis coming out of retirement. The guilty party. First down and 20 for Denver. Got to stop with the self-inflicting wounds. First down and 20 at the Denver 23 with Mercedes Lewis, the guilty party on that hold. But, tough to go one-on-one with Max Crosby. Anyone that goes one-on-one with Max, you're losing. Handoff up the middle. And a gain for Harvey. And hopefully Harvey will get more opportunities. I like his style. It's a 1-2 combo with him and J.K. Dobbins. And it works very well for the Broncos in 2025. Four-yard gain there by R.J. Harvey. White with the tackle, the former Buccaneer. Second down and 16 at the Denver 27. Shotgun set, trips right, Nix, and throwing it high and almost intercepted by the Raiders towards that sideline. Incomplete. Third down and 16 for Bo Nix and the Broncos. Cortland Sutton, the intended receiver. Shotgun set for Bo on third down and 16. And nice deep throw there, but just a couple yards short of the first down marker. And Troy Franklin, his Oregon Duck teammate, with the catch. Fourth down and 3, and let's see if Denver goes for it here. Fourth down and 3 at the Denver 40. Late substitution there by the Raiders. They were trying to catch him off guard. Unless it's just a hard count to see if they will jump. Not sure if they have any intention of actually going for this play. Just trying to draw them off sides. All right, Broncos look like they're going to gain those extra 5 yards going backwards to give them a little bit more room with the punt here. Fourth down and 8 at the Denver 35. 12:18 left in the second quarter. 7-0 Raiders. Broncos with the clean punt, but he kind of shanked it and bounces out of bounds, maybe around the 30, 32-yard line. Weird bounce there from that punt. Cronshaw there, punts 36 yards. First down and 10 at the Vegas 29. And we'll see if Denver can make some plays here on defense, and we'll see if the Raiders can get a few more points, before halftime here. I am. Steelers and Chargers on Sunday night. I will be doing that 100%. First down and 10 with 11:59 left here in the second quarter. Raiders up 7-0. Man in motion. Geno under center. Hands off to Genty. Bouncing it to the outside and stuffed immediately. Gain of 1 or none. Let's see where the spot is. I think they might give him 1 yard there. Allen with the tackle for the Broncos. Second down and 9 at the Vegas 30. Shotgun set. Play action. Geno going down to his check down and dropped. What happened to my hands? Got to catch that, Mayor. And good defense there by the Broncos. Third down and 9 here for Geno Smith and the Raiders. Greenlaw with the coverage there on Mayer. Third down and 9 at the Las Vegas 30. Man in motion. Trips right. Shotgun set here for Vegas. Shotgun set to Geno. Pressure off the edge. Geno going deep. Got a man. Brock Bowers down the sideline. First down, Raiders. Move the chains. There we go, Brock. First down, Vegas. And not having Patrick Surtain, out there on that field definitely will be an issue for the Broncos for a few weeks. 31-yard pass from Geno to Bowers. 16 yards of yak yards after the catch. Nice job there by the Raiders. Shotgun set, screen pass, dropped. Forward pass incomplete. Yeah, I'm very familiar with everybody. Anyone who's a streamer, that has, been doing it for quite some time. I think we're all kind of familiar with each other. Second down and 10. Little screen pass. And short gain there for Geno Smith. Third down and maybe 7 yards? 10-20 and counting here in the second quarter. Short pass there to Tucker for 3 yards. 3rd down and 7 at the Denver 36. Man in motion. Bowers in motion. Shotgun set. 3rd down and 7. Broncos bring a little pressure. Throw towards that sideline. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Tucker, but there is a flag on the play. Offsides on the defense. And that'll still be 3rd down. Cooper, the guilty party. Third down and 2 at the Denver 31. Third down and 2 with 9:54 to go in the second quarter. Gino under center, QB sneak, and not getting anywhere near that first down marker. Great stop there by the Denver defense. Fourth down and 2 at the Denver 31 after that previous play went for no gain. Man in motion. Gino steps up in the pocket, gets hit. Pass is caught. Flag down on the play. Touchdown, Raiders. Tucker there with the catch, but that might be coming back due to a hold. Pass interference on the Raiders, and that brings that touchdown off the board. Thornton, their wide receiver rookie. Let's look at the replay here. Fourth down and 12 at the Denver 41. And if you're going to run like a rub route, you have to run it a little bit more clean than that. And especially not having your hands up for the referees to see. Raiders with the punt. And all right, they finally get a touchback there. Wow, they're going to place it at the 1. Dead. Unbelievable. Not ideal for Bo Nix having the ball at the 1 yard line, having to go 99 yards to get in the end zone or to try to get in field goal range. But again, this has been kind of the story for Denver, in the first 3 quarters this season. But I assume in the fourth, we'll definitely see the offense open up for Denver. But what will the score be for the Raiders at that time? We will find out. 8:58 left here in the second quarter. 7-0 Raiders. All right, first down and 10 at the Denver 1. Bo Nix under center, little play action bootleg. And getting some positive yards there with J.K. Dobbins. Seven-yard pass from Nix to Dobbins. Second down and 3 at the Denver 8. Shotgun set for Nix. Little screen pass with blockers downfield. And even when someone is getting blocked by a Denver Bronco, one-handed, Stokes Jr. with the big tackle there. Great job shedding that defender and tackling the offensive player with one hand. Nice job there. Stokes and Chin in the coverage. Third down and 1 at the Denver 10. It also helped that they had 6 turnovers and only 4 in the first 8 games, and you had 6 in one game. Pretty easy to win if you got 6 turnovers. The simple fact that they only lost by 7 with 6 turnovers, that's amazing. Pass incomplete there by Bo Nix, and now it's 4th down and 1 at the Denver 10. Pass incomplete to Evan Ingram there. And the offensive line just needs to do a better job for the Denver Broncos to give Bo a little bit more time. I mean, it's one thing, for Max Crosby to be Max Crosby, but what about the rest? 4th down and 1. And Broncos in their own end zone about to punt. And another shanked punt. .46 left here in the second quarter. 7-0 Raiders. First down and 10 at the Denver 43 after that shank punt. Trips left. Man in motion. Shotgun set for Gino. Little play action bootleg rolling to his left. And a short catch there for the Raiders. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Yeah. Definitely a little alarming to see your punter shaking punts like that for sure. 2nd down and 10 after Geno Smith pass and complete to Tucker. 2nd down and 10 at the Denver 43. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Geno under center on 2nd down and 10. And a little sweep. And the Broncos read that immediately. Great job there by the Bronco D. Brock Bowers, where you going? Absolutely nowhere. Loss of 4, and Nick Benito, who's one of the best defensive players in the league the last 2 years, said, nah, not today. 3rd down and 14 after that 4-yard loss at the Denver 47. Shotgun set, man in motion for Geno Smith and the Raiders. Pressure off the edge, Geno. Throw toward the sideline and short of the marker, intended tight end. With the catch is Mayer. And now it is 4th down. Judah in the building, what's good? Northwest in the building, what's good? 4th down and 5 after that 9-yard catch from Mayer from Geno. And Raiders are going for it, or at least a showing that they're going for it, seeing if they may try to draw them off sides. Shotgun set, blitz off the edge, and it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a Bronco sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Talanoa Hufanga, the former 49er. And again, they love blitzing on 3rd and 4th down. And again, if you don't get rid of that football within a second, you're going to be on your back. And obviously comes clean, untouched, the running back. That was your responsibility. Talanoa Hufanga, you don't get a chip on Hufanga. And Hufanga says, thank you very much. Great pickup from the offseason with Talanoa Hufanga, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. A little bit more productive than Dre Greenlaw, who was injured for a good chunk. But we will see both make some impact plays. All right, Bo, time is running out to be able to tie this game up, or at least to get 3. And again, their ranks, for first quarter, second quarter, third quarter offensive production is in the bottom 10, but in the fourth quarter, they put up numbers as if they were the best team in the NFL in the fourth, as long as you go based off scoring. And again, it kind of is lining up for a game like that potentially to happen, where Denver may be down in the third or fourth quarter and, may have to have a miraculous comeback to come back and win the game. And we'll see if we can get a few more touchdowns by both teams before this one is over. Yeah, I did the Blazer game was my first Blazer stream on the channel last night. So, and again, we were down by 22 in the first quarter, but I told people on the channel I thought the Blazers had a chance. Some people probably thought I was crazy, but lo and behold, you shoot 80% in the fourth quarter, and you find a way to beat the best team in the NBA, and that was a good start, for doing NBA games on the channel. And again, we will sprinkle in, Blazer games, during the week outside of the NFL and college football. Obviously, if those days don't have football, then we'll be definitely looking for the Blazers and the Kraken as filler streams until we get to baseball season in March. And I also subscribe to Blazer Vision. So I have access, through Xfinity and other rooms in the house, but in the studio, if you want to watch it, on NBA.com, on a computer or on your cell phone, you got to subscribe to Blazer Vision. So I figured I would do that so that way I could be as live as possible. And again, a good experience yesterday, with Blazer Vision, and a great performance by Rip City and the Blazers yesterday. Bo Nix under center, hands it off. Spin move up the middle on first down and 10. Short gain there. And we got a hold on the O-line there. Repeat first down. Self-inflicted wounds by both teams. And Troutman was the guilty party. First down and 20 now at the 50. And again, it just hasn't really been easy for Denver to get the job done offensively. And, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And, they definitely are a defense-oriented team. They just need that offense. And again, the offensive line needs to be better. First down and 20 here for Bo. Shotgun set. Pressure off the edge. Bo steps up in the pocket. Little check down. And gets tackled immediately after that short gain. Jamal Adams in coverage. I got a few journeymen on the Raiders with Max Crosby. Devin White, formerly of the Buccaneers, is on that defense, as well as Jamal Adams. Even though he is old and injury prone, still can make plays from time to time. 1 yard pass from Nix to Harvey, making it second down and 19 at the Vegas 49. Shotgun set. Pressure up the middle. Run, Bo, run. And Bo keeps his head down the field. Great pass down the sideline. First down, Broncos. There we go. And Bryant with the big catch and great yak yards. There we go. Let's see if Bo Nix can get him in the end zone now. Let's get it, baby. Finally, something positive for Bo Nix and the Broncos. 44-yard pass from Nix to Bryant and 24 yak yards after the catch. First and goal at the Vegas 5. Let's go, Denver. Let's make this a game. But I already knew we had a chance with the Blazers yesterday because, how we played against the Nuggets a couple days before when my best friend was there. They were down by 10 the whole game and they found a way to win. But, screen pass. And good tackle there by the Raiders. But also, when you play up to the competition, you're going to get your best. But then also, we played the Lakers after beating Denver with no LeBron, no Luka, no Austin Reeves. And we got absolutely blasted and stomped on. DeAndre Ayton, the former Blazer, had a great game, a revenge game against us. So, again, when you play down to the competition, it affects every team in every sport. But again, if you play really good competition, you never know. Sometimes you end up, bringing out your NBA Finals type of effort, yesterday by Rip City, and it was a great victory. Second and goal at the Vegas 7-0 Raiders. Shotgun set. Nix, pressure off the edge, steps up, keeps his eyes downfield. Touchdown, Broncos. There we go, Bo. Troy Franklin from one Oregon Duck to another. Bang, 7-7 here momentarily. Nice drive by Troy Franklin. Go Ducks. Extra point by Will Lutz is up and good. There we go, Denver, finally. There we go. It's been all defense so far. Bo Nix from the Oregon Ducks to Troy Franklin from the Oregon Ducks. And that extra point by Will Lutz is good. 7-7 Broncos and Raiders. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Joe in the building. How are you? Captain in the building. What's good? Nice job there by Bo Nix to Troy Franklin. And again, we already know Denver has not been good in the first three quarters, and they are one of the best teams in the NFL in the fourth. But again, every Denver Bronco fan and every coach and anyone that's affiliated with Denver is probably getting sick and tired, of this first three quarters struggling and having to try to find a way to win in the fourth. And at some point, you would assume that they'll end up starting a little bit stronger, but. Again, really the difference between Denver this year and last year is their win-loss record in one-score games, which wasn't good last year. It's good this year, and obviously that reflects that 7-2 record that Denver has here tonight. And Lutz kicks off. 65 yards and a touchback. First down and 10 for Geno Smith at the Raider 35. And once Bo gets, a little bit better of an offensive line and more skill position players, you'll definitely see him, take his game to another level. Geno steps up in the pocket and gets caught from behind. Good tackle there by Denver. Roach with the tackle. Nice job by Malcolm Roach there. Big sack there by Roach. Second down and 10 at the Las Vegas 35. Love the Orange Crush throwbacks with those blue helmets by Denver. And I actually like the white look for the Raiders with the silver numbers. The Saints have a similar look with the color rush with the white and then the gold inside the numbers. But I think the Raiders with that silver is a little bit cleaner. Shotgun set. Geno hands off, and Genty runs into a crowd, gain of a couple. Third down, and Denver with another timeout, trying to potentially get a long Lutz field goal before half, or potentially another touchdown if they can find that cohesiveness on this Denver offense. 4-yard run by Genty up the middle. Singleton and Greenlaw with the coverage. Third down and 6 at the Vegas 39. Man in motion. Trips left. Shotgun set for Geno. Pressure off the edge and up the middle, and it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And again, this is too much Denver Broncos on that defense, especially on third and fourth down. Whether it be Allen or Nick Benito or Roach. Nice spin move by Nick Benito right there, who would have ended up having the sack lunch if you didn't get great pressure on that other side by Denver. Nice job there by Allen and Roach and Benito. 2-minute warning now, 4th down and 12 at the Vegas 33. And Denver will have 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, to try to get themselves a field goal or a touchdown to take the lead here before halftime. Seven, Raiders and Broncos. One touchdown from Troy Franklin, one touchdown from Ashton Genty, and that's where we're sitting right now, 7-7 with 2 minutes to go in the second quarter in a defensive battle. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. Looking for our first dono on the dono train here tonight. And we're looking to gain 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Yes, I have. $51 subs away from 23,300. Looks like we gained a sub. Only 50 to go now to 23,300. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to all the new subs we've acquired on the channel here today and this year. There's actually been quite a few players that have done that celebration. You know, Aaron Rodgers was one of the first back in the day to do that. And there, are quite a few players that attempt it, every year. But again, if you do that celebration, you will be flagged. 1 pump, 2 pumps, or 3. All right, 1st down and 10 here for Bo Nix. Looking fresh and clean with those orange crush unis, but I love the helmet. It's a great color of blue paired up with just the right amount of white and orange, especially with that white face mask. It definitely pops as they pan into Geno Smith on the sideline. Not too happy. But again, it's 7-7. So with that being said, it's not like you're down 21-0. Shotgun set. 3 wide receiver set. Bo Nix, little check down and dropped. What happened to my hands? Got to catch that. A lot of drops. A lot of self-inflicted wounds, with penalties on the line. And again, that's why Denver needs better offensive line and better skill position players for Bo Nix. And once that ends up happening, then that offense will eventually catch up to the defense at one point or another, even though it may take a couple years. Shotgun set on 2nd down and 10. Bo, quick release. And a nice catch there. Ingram with the catch. And they're in the 2-minute drill here. Minute 30 and counting. 3rd down and 3. Shotgun set for Nix. 3 wide receiver set now turns into 4. And a nice little flip. 1st down, Broncos. Move the chains. But there's a flag on the play. Wow, pass interference on the offense, huh? A little push off. see what Bryant does, how blatant this push-off is. Ten-yard penalty there on Bryant with the push-off. 3rd down and 13 at the Denver 24. Four wide receiver set, one running back in the backfield with Bo. Shotgun set, and you assume the Raiders will bring blitz. And pocket is open in the middle of the field, and Cortland Sutton, first down, Broncos. They decide not to blitz for the first time on 3rd down, and Bo makes him pay. Move the chains. Yeah, you don't see offensive PI that often, but, if you extend the arm or both arms, and depending on where the refs are looking. I mean, I imagine it happens pretty often, but obviously it doesn't get called often. Just like holding on the offensive line happens every play, but we can't have flags on every play. And we have another flag. It's a flag party. False start on the offensive line. Still first down. McGlinchey, the guilty party there. And again, when you're going against Max Crosby, penalties are going to happen. First down and 15 at the Denver 33. After that McGlinchey false start. Shotgun set for Bo. Pressure off the edge. And a laser throw towards the sideline, but incomplete. Intended receiver, his former teammate at Oregon, Troy Franklin, who has the touchdown for Bo earlier in this quarter. And now we got 2nd down and 15 at the Denver 33. And it kind of feels like Cortland Sutton needs to get the ball. They haven't really had too many opportunities for him. And he is one of those guys that can make that big play, to get that chunk yardage that they're looking for, as well as Troy Franklin. Three wide receiver set, shotgun set for Bo. Pressure off the edge, getting chased from behind, going long, going deep. 1-on-2, intercepted. Bad throw by Bo Nix in double coverage, and a great return here by the Raiders. And finally goes down. Wow. Errant throw, by Bo into double coverage. You can't make that throw, Bo. You can't make that throw in double coverage. You just got to check that down or throw it away. Bo Nix normally, but today, Bo picks. Yeah, and that's one of the worst decisions I think I've seen out of Bo this season. That's very uncharacteristic, for Bo Nix, but every quarterback, ends up making, decisions where they think they're going to get the ball, in the right spot, regardless if it's 1-on-1, 1-on-2, or 1-on-3, but that wasn't even close. Terrible throw by Bo Nix. And a great interception, obviously, there by Kelly. Troy Franklin, the intended receiver, probably should have went to Cortland Sutton on 1-on-1 coverage instead. Geno Smith, and he goes deep, 1-on-1. Oh, what happened to my hands? Great throw by Geno, and that should have been probably caught there. Thornton Jr. obviously going to be getting some more looks and targets, considering that Jacoby Myers, who didn't want to be on the team, got traded to the Jags. And right in his hands, got to make that play, And again, if you're going to beat this Denver team, those are the type of plays that you have to make, regardless if you're a rookie or you're not. And Thornton is wishing for a redo, obviously, on that particular route and play. 2nd down and 10 at the Vegas 36. And we'll see if the Raiders can get into field goal territory here before halftime. So I think we're going to be doing USC and Northwestern tomorrow. Saturday will be Oregon versus Iowa on the road. Sunday will be Sunday Night Football between the Steelers and the Chargers. And then obviously we'll be doing Monday Night Football as well. And Gino looking towards the sideline, got a man open, get out of bounds. And Tyler Lockett, teammates, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, reunited here with the Raiders after Lockett got released from the Titans, and you kind of figured that this would be his destination. 9-yard pass there from Gino to Lockett. McMillan with the coverage, 9-yard gain for Tyler. 3rd down and 1 at the Vegas 45. And Monday night will be Eagles and Packers. That should be a good one as well. Gino on 3rd down and 1 and running away from the defense. A little flip to Genty, but not enough. And we are at halftime. I was hoping for a little bit more offense on the board, was hoping for, maybe like a 14-13 halftime score, not necessarily 7-7, but could have been worse. Could be at 0-0 or 3-0. So, and again, the defenses have been good for both teams. Max Crosby on one side, Nick Benito on the other. It's been a little tough for Bo and Gino to get into a rhythm. And again, this is definitely a trap game for Denver. And again, they normally don't play very good offense in the first 3 quarters, and the 4th quarter they play like a top 5 team in the NFL, which they are. So we will see if that ends up being the MO for Denver again, and we'll see if we can get a few more touchdowns by the Broncos and Raiders before this one's over. Halftime will be quick, only 11 to 12 minutes, and we'll be right back into the 3rd quarter. Denver will receive the second half kickoff. Two likes to 40. Still looking for our first dono on our dono train. And 50 subs to go to 23,300. I am looking forward to Patriots and Buccaneers. They're on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I'm not sure if I'm going to end up getting that game locally where I'm living, but if I am, I may end up streaming that game in the morning, but I might just watch it with Paisley and enjoy it there. Let's see what we got this weekend. We got Patriots Bucks, 7-2 versus 6-2. That's going to be must-see TV. Drake May versus Baker Mayfield. Yes, please. Falcons and Colts in Berlin. Giants and Bears, Bills and Dolphins, Ravens versus Vikings, Browns and Jets, Saints and Panthers, Jags and Texans, Cardinals and Seahawks, Rams, Niners, Lions, Commanders, Steelers, Chargers, Eagles, Packers. So that Patriot Buccaneer game is going to be one of the best over the weekend based on the schedule. And I would assume Rams and Niners will be competitive. Same thing with Steelers and Chargers and Eagles, Packers on Monday night. But a nice little slate of games. Captain with a $5, thank you so much for your support. Every dollar counts, no matter what we're doing. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, wrestling, whatever it may be, NASCAR. Thank you so much. We're at $5.95 to go on the Dono train. Every dollar counts to take care of my pup, as well as paying the basic fees to continue doing this stream for y'all every single day. Appreciate you. Stacks, Rex with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. $5 holla on the Dono train. Anything you want to see, Captain? I got you. Shop girl in the building. What's good? All right, JSN, good choice. I got you. Chief with a $5. Appreciate you, man. Every dollar counts. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Thank you so much. And we didn't get a whole lot of support on Monday night or in the NBA stream that I did. And obviously, anytime you end up doing something that you haven't done in a minute, it's going to take some time to, build an audience, for the Blazers, for the Kraken, even though we've been doing it here and there. But the views were great. Now it's just about, getting people to show up on a regular basis and then, hit the like button, Chad. And then for the people that can afford it to be able to support my dream, every dollar that you support is supporting the dream. And I do appreciate it. And so does Paisley. What's good, Chief? How are you, my guy? Anybody you want to see player-wise that I can showcase while we're waiting for halftime to be over here in about 7 minutes? 7-7 tie here between the Raiders and the Broncos. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Ten in the dono, 90 to go. Yeah, pretty wild, but again, you're going to go where you're wanted. And, I knew Lockett would eventually make his way, with Pete and Gino with the Raiders. I might not, be a Hawk fan personally, even though I keep, tabs with everything that they do. Same thing with the Washington Huskies since I live here in Oregon. But this jersey combo is beautiful. And even the beanie is fire. I haven't seen too many beanies, obviously matching, with the throwback look. But that is a pretty clean look. If I was a Hawk fan, I definitely would be buying that beanie right there. Fire. It happens, some people, appreciate, who's supporting them, and again, others, they feel like, that they're owed that, once they hit a certain point, based on subs and views and numbers and, they kind of lose touch with, how they got to that point. And, some people end up, changing, and getting a little bit more greedy and, and again, sounds like that's probably not the spot for you anyways, over there. And, again, not everyone is, going to show the love and appreciation, for where they're at, where they're going. And, just because someone streams doesn't mean that they're a good person. So there's a lot of people that have been fooled by others on social media. But one thing is for sure, we definitely appreciate every single person here. And again, if you have seen the streams from way back in the day to now, I haven't changed. I'm the same person. And again, as we have continued success with the Seattle Mariners and everything else we do on the channel, when the numbers get bigger, we're still not going to change how we operate and do things here on the daily. Sorry that happened to you, but again, probably better off that you're not spending time where, that person doesn't really care about the people that are supporting him or not. So. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Bo's offense only works in the fourth quarter. So as long as you can have good defense and slow him down, anything can happen. And really the difference between Denver this year and last year is just one-score games. They weren't good last year. They're really good this year. And sometimes that ends up being the difference. And honestly, if you look at Denver's wins and their losses, they easily, could be 4-5, 5-4. Maybe even 3-6, with just like bad luck in the fourth quarter. If Bo didn't get hot in the fourth quarter in a lot of these games, that potentially could be their record, where they could have that record flipped, where they're 2-7, or 7-2. And I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but as you've watched this Denver Bronco offense here today, and if you've watched games of them this year, this has been a similar pattern. Bo struggles in the first. Bo struggles in the second, he struggles in the third, and then he goes off like he's the best quarterback in the NFL in the fourth. And the numbers prove that in the fourth quarter. There's nobody really better than Bo this year in the fourth. But again, it's not just Bo. It's the offensive line. It's players with self-inflicted wounds, false starts, holds, drops. They just need better skill position players, at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Even though they do have some guys, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram, Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. Those are some guys, but again, you can always improve, those positions a little bit more. And they have improved from last year, player for player in those skill position players. But at times, it does show you it's not enough. They still need more. And Bo, even though he's got Cortland Sutton and he's got Troy Franklin, they need a number one, wide receiver, like an undoubtedly number one, even though Sutton might be the number one now, but again, if Sutton can be the 2 and Franklin can be the 3, and then they have like a big bodied receiver or an amazing, possession receiver like a JSN or, a bigger receiver, that obviously can win the matchups like an AJ Brown, at some point, the offense will, obviously get better, whether it be someone that they get in the draft that's up and coming or someone in a trade or in the off season. But, I assume that at some point Denver's offense will catch up to the defense. But right now, Denver's D is arguably the best in the NFL. Broncos offense is nowhere near that. So it might take 2, 3, 4 years. But I do believe, Denver at one point, could end up being, the number one seed. And I don't know if it'll be this year with the inconsistencies on offense, but one thing is for sure, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And it's cool to see the Broncos being a good team. Same thing with the Colts and the Patriots. It's nice to be able to see new teams, come to the show. Obviously, we know that the Chiefs and the Bills are still the real deal, even though they may not be as strong as they were in years past. You still can't count those two teams out. And even if the Patriots play well or the Colts play well, or the Ravens or the Steelers or the Chargers or anybody else, can they beat the Chiefs or the Bills? And I don't know, based on, who they played up to this point in certain games, you would say maybe, but in other games, maybe not, so again, even though, the offenses and the defenses may have not been as consistent this year with the Bills, their defense isn't very good. And then the Chiefs have just been a little bit rusty, have had some key injuries as well, but that playoff experience, will definitely, hold some value, especially if you end up getting Chiefs and Patriots or Bills and Colts. I don't think anyone is going to take the underdogs in those games, but you never know. Underdogs, can end up upsetting a big dog once in a while. Yeah, it's just kind of unsettling, when you get people that change, based on the views and the subs and the donos and the recognition, from people, and then they change, and it's kind of sick to see. Spin move, good return there, flag comes out. But you can definitely tell the people that appreciate things and the people that feel that they're entitled, and that's something that's owed to them. And, everyone operates, their business or their dream accordingly. And, I definitely appreciate every single one of y'all. All right, let's start the third quarter here. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Yeah, but does that really surprise you? Anytime you get some of the bigger, YouTubers that have over 100,000 subs, when you get these people that are at 100,000 to a million, somewhere in that middle area, most of them are at 100,000 to 500,000. Once you've hit that plateau, some are, going to be in touch, with people, and others, are not. So. Hand off up the middle. And a short gain there on first down and 14. Yeah, and again, just because you're popular, doesn't mean that you're a good person. Everyone tries to act like they're the most amazing person online, but, sometimes you got to read in between the lines. Second down and 12 after that 2-yard run by J.K. Dobbins. Shotgun set for Nix. And check down goes into the turf, incomplete. Third down and 12 at the Denver 7. Third down and 12 at the Denver 7. Shotgun set. Pressure off the edge. Throw to the sideline. Incomplete. And that's going to turn into a Denver punt. Fourth down and 12 at the Denver 7. And Broncos with the punt, and that is a much better punt than the few that we had in the first half that he shanked. And flag comes out on the return, and that probably is going to be some kind of chop block or block in the back or a hold by the receiving team, the Raiders, I would assume. holding on the receiving team there. 10-yard penalty, and that's by McCollum. Captain says we're at 40, 10 more to get to 50. Appreciate that. Mariners did release the spring training schedule. And again, if I can get any of those games televised by the new Mariners network, I will do some. You know, obviously there's some in February and some in March, but I assume some of them won't be televised, but you never know. And again, I really am going to miss Root Sports. And, you know, how much are we going to have to pay to watch the Mariners, you know, monthly? You know, if there's going to be a certain type of cost and whatnot, but hopefully it ends up being somewhat affordable, and hopefully it's similar to Root Sports, because I'm definitely going to miss it. First down and 10. 3 wide receiver set. 1 running back in the backfield here for Gino. Man in motion. Hand off to Genty up the middle. And a short gain. Minnie in the building. What's good? How are you? Lost by 2. That hurts. But it is a new week. We got some pretty good games this weekend. I'm definitely looking forward to covering here on the channel, as well as just watching. Great college football weekend, as well as NFL. Handoff up the middle. Nice little jump cut by Genty, and another short gain. 5-yard run on first down, and a couple yards there on second down. Just short of the marker now on third down. Greenlaw was in coverage there on Genty, and Singleton and Franklin Myers there on that second down run. 3-yard gain after a 5-yard gain by Genty. Now it's third down and 2 at the Vegas 37. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Shotgun set, third down and 2. Shotgun set for Gino. Broncos showing blitz. And flag on the play. And it looks like Vegas ends up getting the timeout before the time clock expires. But Ashton Genty ended up having the first touchdown in the first quarter, giving them the early 7-0 lead. And then Bo Nix to Troy Franklin with a 7-yard pass. 2 minutes and 41 seconds before halftime, and that's where we're sitting right now in a 7-7 tie. Timeout, Raiders. Shotgun set, pressure, and throw to the sideline, through his hands, and complete. Tyler Lockett, the intended receiver there. 4th down and 2, and the Raiders are going to have to punt. And obviously not having Jacoby Myers has made this offense stall quite a bit. I mean, obviously you're going to get more opportunities for Lockett, Thornton, the rookie, and a few others like Mayer and Brock Bowers, but they definitely are missing, you know, their best wide receiver here today that they traded to the Jags after they played the Jags and lost to the Jags in OT. Nice. And there's a chance that Troy could score again in this half as well. And fair caught. It's just defense, man. You know, the Broncos, I was looking at their numbers. They're in the bottom 10 rank-wise offensively in the first 3 quarters. But then they're like the best team in the NFL in the fourth. and that's how Bo Nix and the Broncos are 7-2. So, and again, you got Max Crosby and a lot of other, motivated individuals, even though they might be a little older and past their prime. Devin White, the former Buccaneer, Jamal is out there, obviously, trying to make some plays, obviously, for the Raiders secondary, Jamal Adams, even though he's injury prone as well. But, it's definitely been a defensive battle. And again, just not enough, weapons and not enough time for each offensive line to give the time, for Geno and Bo to kind of go through their, progressions. It's pretty much go through your first progression and maybe if you're lucky, your second, but they're not really able to go to their first, second, third, because of the offensive lines have been dominated by the D lines from the Raiders and the Broncos. And again, 7-7 defensive battle, but I do expect the game to open up and hopefully we get at least one team that hits 20 before this one is up. Yeah, for you as a Chief fan, yeah, I get it. Could be worse, though. I mean, I guess it could be 0-0 here in the third quarter. How's everything going with you and fantasy and everything else? How's everything going for you, Chief? Yeah. But that might be the thing that holds Denver back, from making the AFC championship game or representing, the AFC in the Super Bowl is just the lack of, cohesion, with the offensive line as well as the skill position players. J.K. Dobbins, Harvey are nice. Troy Franklin, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram are nice, but again, if the offensive line doesn't do their job, Bo can't get him the ball. And it's not like Bo's going to take off and run for 80 yards a game either. There's going to be games where he might run 50 to 80 yards once in a while, but normally he's going to be a pocket guy. He'll run once in a while, and he'll definitely run and keep his eyes downfield. And if he can flip it at the last second, that's obviously his MO. So, but again, we will see the Chargers and the Steelers on Sunday night, and then we get the Eagles and the Packers on Monday night. So we'll see how those teams kind of stack up, once we get to that point. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Bucs and the Patriots playing at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. I don't think I've been excited to watch the Patriots and the Bucs play each other since maybe the Tom Brady era. And it should be pretty exciting considering Drake May is the truth and the Patriots are a legit playoff team this year. Good for them. 7-yard run there by J.K. Dobbins up the middle. Porter and Mao with the tackle and coverage. 2nd down and 3 at the Denver 23. 4 out of your 5 leagues. I decided not to do fantasy for the first time in like 15, 20 years. And it's definitely, been kind of a vacation for me, because how much time and energy I put on fantasy. It's usually like 4 or 5 hours a day on the app and, looking at the wire and looking at everyone's teams and spying on everyone. And, it's kind of refreshing, to kind of take a back seat and just root for my Bucks, watch the Bucks games. Don't worry about any other player besides the players on my team. And, I don't know. Will I do fantasy again? Maybe. Again, I like the way that the season is gone with all my focus with just the Bucks and timeout called here by Denver. And, if I do another league on the channel, maybe I'll just be commissioner and just not participate, and have the rest of the regulars on the channel duke it out. But it definitely is, you have plenty of leagues, to be able to make up for me not doing one this year. Things are good. Like I said, we definitely gained some massive ground, doing the Seattle Mariners this year, which is now how most people know me. And then obviously when the Mariner season ends, then we transition into more NFL, more college football, a little bit of the NBA and the NHL. I did my first NBA stream last night, and the Blazers beat the Thunder, which was awesome. And we were down by 22 in the first quarter and came back and won by 2. So again, it's going to be a work in progress, for NBA and NHL streams. And since the MLB and the NASCAR season is over, but we'll continue to do NFL, college football, the NBA with the Blazers until we get to March. And then obviously we'll transition into the Mariners at that point full time. And again, I'm definitely excited for the growth of the channel and the great individuals that are supporting this channel on the daily. And a little bootleg pass there to the right. First down, Broncos. Move the chains. Great play call here with the man in motion. And again, you have to be a little bit more creative with the play calling. And you're starting to get that here with Sean Payton in the third quarter. Yeah, Pats, who would have thought Pats Bucks is actually going to be a fun watch? But Drake May finally had his breakout season. Stephon Diggs is, partly responsible for that. And the Pats defense has played pretty well in a few games this year also. So, I'm definitely not taking them for granted. 13-yard pass from Nick's Apprentice. And we'll see if they can continue to keep moving these chains. First down, Broncos. 7-yard run there by J.K. Dobbins. Roberts with the tackle. Second down and 3 at the Denver 46. Next, hands off on second down and 3. And Dobbins is spun around and taken down. Third down. I just don't like the way that fantasy takes over my life, when I do it, because I put in so much time and energy and effort. If you want to finish in the top 3, you have to put in a lot. I mean, some people can get extremely lucky, with the draft and, players not getting hurt and, making minimal moves and still finding a way to get to the playoffs or a deep run. And a nice halfback toss to the outside. First down, J.K. Dobbins. Move the chains. But definitely looking forward to USC and Northwestern tomorrow. And then we got Oregon visiting Iowa, both ranked. And that could be a game that Oregon could lose. Really looking forward to that matchup. Anytime that you can lose, that means the game is going to be great. And then obviously we'll be doing Sunday night football with the Steelers and the Chargers. And then Monday night with the Eagles and the Packers. And then once we get into, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday next week, then we will probably be sprinkling in some Blazer streams, for filler streams on the channel as well. 7-yard pass from Bo Nix to Harvey, who's been a very great complimentary back. First rookie running back with a TD catch in 3 straight games since Gale Sayers, the Hall of Famer. Incredible. Shotgun set, and we got flags coming out. Just wish that the Bucks didn't have so many injuries with Bucky Irving and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and Ibuka missed some time, and it's like we've only really had Rashad White and Cade Otton and Baker Mayfield healthy. Offensive line has been beat up. Secondary has been beat up. As long as we got Vita Vea, Levante David, and Antoine Winfield Jr., who in my opinion might be one of the best secondary players in the entire NFL, that's great. But, you definitely need the others, to be able to step up as well. And hopefully those guys will step up and we'll be victorious against the Patriots this weekend. And if that game is local for me on Fox or CBS here in Oregon, then I will do the Bucks and the Pats. But if it's not, then I'll just watch it on my own terms with Paisley, and then we'll just do Sunday night football. But kind of hoping that game will be local to me here for the Bucks and the Patriots, because I had that one circled on the calendar and didn't really know how good the Patriots would be this year with Drake May, and they definitely have been the real deal up to this point. 7-yard run there by Harvey. 3rd down and 1 on the Vegas 36. Devin White and Jeremy Chin in coverage. And a little reverse. Cortland Sutton. And broken play there. Nice job by the Raiders. And that trick play did not come into fruition. Yeah, Vita Vea is a bad man. Levante David is a bad man. Antoine Winfield Jr. is a bad man. Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ibuka, Baker Mayfield. I mean, we got a lot of dogs, and again, I just want us to be healthy so we can try to get to the NFC Championship game and play, someone like the Eagles or the Lions. I would love to get payback on them. Those are our only 2 losses this year, and, I would love to get payback on them in the playoffs. Kick is up by Lutz. And no good. Unbelievable. And that's normally a kick that Lutz makes. And I guess our 7-7 tie is going to remain. And it looks like he slightly slipped there and not even close on that field goal attempt. 59-yard field goal. No good. You got Denver kicker in one. Yeah, I mean, Lutz is normally pretty good from 40, 50 yards and whatnot. But again, anytime you end up playing a rival in the division, and you're very familiar with this, Chief, you don't take them for granted. Like, even if the Broncos were 2-7 and the Raiders are 2-6, just because they have that record doesn't mean the Chiefs are going to win. And same thing goes with the Chargers. Records go out the window, especially in that division. Every division is that way, but in certain divisions, even more so. Like, I feel the AFC West, the NFC West, with the Hawks and the Niners and the Rams, you don't know what's going to happen. Besides the Cardinals, just kind of being bootios. And obviously the Cardinals are the equivalent to the Raiders in the division, where you got one bottom team, but then you got 3, with the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Broncos. You don't know, and same thing goes with the Seahawks, Rams, and Niners. You don't really know, you assume, but until the games are played, a lot of craziness can happen, and records definitely go out the window. Just like, the Bucks are the best team, in the NFC South, but that doesn't mean that every game is going to be a cakewalk versus the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. And shout out to the Carolina Panthers, for being second place in the division when they were dead last for years and years and years. Nice to see Bryce Young finally make it. Saints are terrible. Falcons have gone backwards, which is a surprise because a lot of people thought that they would have a chance on taking the crown away from the Bucks. Not this year. And obviously great for Carolina to get a little bit of love, even though they're not going to be a playoff team, but to be in last, for years and years and years, and now to be in second, that's got to feel good for them. Yeah, love me some Bucky, love our running back room, but obviously with Bucky not playing, it's like the Lions not playing with Jahmyr Gibbs. Unfortunately, I don't have a David Montgomery. Rashad White and Tucker are pretty good, but they're not David Montgomery good, and obviously no Evans, no Godwin. Ibuka has missed a little bit of time, but obviously when we get Jalen McMillan back, we can have him take over for Chris Godwin, Ibuka take over at Mike Evans, and we're going to be in good hands with Baker Mayfield for years to come. But I would love for everyone to be healthy on that offense for like once. And if we were able to have everyone healthy, you could argue it's a top 3 offense in the NFL and maybe not top 3. Oh, tipped, intercepted by the Broncos. Go, baby, go. And a great return here by Denver. Wow. And we got a flag down there, and that tipped ball. They're playing hot potato there. And a great interception off the tip pass there by Tillman. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Carolina's got the same record as the Chiefs. You guys have had a pretty tough schedule, to start off the year. Let's be honest. It's been not easy schedule-wise. And again, even though you guys and the Bills might not be as good as previous years, I still wouldn't bet against you guys if you guys played against the Colts or New England and, some of these other teams that are having better records. But when we talk playoffs, that experience will come definitely handy. And Gino intended for Genty. Genty can't control it. Tillman says, thank you very much. And now Denver is in position to get at least a field goal to make up for the mitts for Will Lutz, and that missed opportunity. But potentially getting a touchdown would be more in their wheelhouse. And off to J.K. Dobbins. Slips on that turf. And now it is second down. Chief with another $5. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it very, very much, especially since the last two streams have been pretty light with support. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Another $5 holla on the Dono train. Thank you so much. Every dollar counts. Shout out to Captain and Chief. Appreciate you guys. Second down and 10. Shotgun set. Nix. Plenty of time. And running backwards and decides to throw it out of bounds. Incomplete. 8 more likes to 50. Let's get there, baby. And it definitely is a little bit of a transition, from doing pretty much every single Mariner game, and playoffs and doing World Series and then, doing NFL and then doing college football, which I have no problem. And then obviously, every once in a while we would sprinkle in a NASCAR stream, somewhere in between January and March, whether it be Trucks, Xfinity, or NASCAR Cup. But obviously the season just ended and Kyle Larson ended up being champion. But obviously doing basketball is a little bit different. But again, I'm definitely looking forward to doing Blazer games on the channel, and we should be able to gain some subs and hopefully some individuals that will be able to support with the Dono train on the NBA streams at some point as well. I think the Chiefs will be able to get in because the Chargers lost Slater and Alt on the line. So even though they have a better record at the moment, I think they're going to start going backwards, and then you guys will be able to take that spot. So I'm pretty sure Denver will win the division. Chiefs will get second place. And the Chargers will be close, but they'll barely miss the playoffs, I assume. And Dobbins' elbow is down, and then the ball comes out. I mean, injuries have just been massive, for the Buccaneers, the 49ers, and a few other teams. But again, coaching and a great quarterback can definitely, help you hang around. Next, little check down and great tackle there by the Raiders. And fourth down for the Broncos, and that'll lead to another punt. And again, the interception based off Genty's miscue does not come back to bite them. Yeah. And again, I'm just coming off a Buccaneer and an Oregon Duck bye, so really looking forward to Oregon hopefully beating Iowa on the road, which will not be easy. That's going to be a fucking war, just like the Buccaneers playing the Patriots and Drake May. It's going to be a war, and I hope I don't go 0-2 this weekend. I'm hoping that we go 2-0, but I won't be surprised, either way. If we win both of those games, we only win one out of those two games, or if we lose both. But I'm really hoping that the Ducks and the Bucks both don't lose in the same weekend. That would not be good for me. And Crawshaw there with the 39-yard punt into the end zone, and that ends up being a touchback. And again, yes, incredibly low-scoring defensive battle. This would be equivalent to me doing a Mariner game and having it be a 1-1 game, or a 1-0 type of game, and it's just a pitcher's duel. It's all defense. Max Crosby on one side, Nick Bonito on the other. But with that being said, at least it's not Denver 30, Raiders 0. So at least it's like we don't know who's going to win yet. So that's kind of exciting. So there is one positive, when you have these low-scoring games like this, that that you're going to get some magic in the third and fourth quarter. So, Yeah, Chargers are always cursed with the injury bug, So it's like you got the Broncos, you got the Chiefs, you got the Chargers, right? And then you got the Steelers and the Ravens, more than likely, and then the Patriots and the Bills, right? And then you got the Colts and maybe the Jags. So again, the Jags, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Steelers, you guys are kind of all in the same boat. They're like, are you going to get in? Are you not? And again, we don't know just yet, but I don't think I can really go against Mahomes. Again, we'll see. As long as they don't have any major injuries to Kelsey, Mahomes, Chris Jones, and obviously they still got Andy Reid and Spags, and obviously this is the first year where things have not gone as planned. But with that being said, you still could end up making the AFC Championship game, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. Again, the Bills' defense isn't very good. Their offense is great with Josh Allen, but it seems like the defense has gotten worse in the last couple of years, and it's not like the Bills have really ever had an amazing defense. It's always been kind of their bugaboo, besides not having a stud running back, and they finally have that, but again, it definitely feels like the AFC is up for grabs, and I think the NFC is the better conference this year. You got the Seahawks, you got the Rams, you got the Niners, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got the Eagles, you got the Lions and the Packers, and then every once in a while, even a suspect Viking team can end up, ruffling some feathers a little bit as they beat the Lions. So you never know, but it definitely feels like the teams are more well-rounded, offense, defense, special teams in the NFC. And there's some good, teams in the AFC, but again, we will have to wait to see how the Colts and the Patriots do in the playoffs, and if they can actually win a game or if they just make the playoffs, and that's as far as they go. First down and 10 at the Vegas 20. Geno Smith under center in a 7-7 war here on Thursday Night Football. Handoff up the middle to Genti. And a short gain. Yeah, been a wild year, and again, I'm just looking forward to hopefully the Ducks, making the college football playoff and going as far as they possibly can go. And hopefully Baker Mayfield will bake. And I'm trying to, hope that we get to the NFC Championship game against the Lions, the Eagles, or someone else, and hopefully we can find our, opportunity to make a Super Bowl in the Baker Mayfield era at some point. Geno, little play action, running bootleg to his right, being chased down and thrown into the turf. And I don't know if that'll be grounding. But I have watched a lot of Colts games and Patriot games and Chiefs and Bills and Broncos and Chargers. So I'm very familiar with what's going on in the AFC side. And, I try to watch about 3 or 4 full college football games and 3 or 4 NFL games on a weekend. Some have to be on the DVR. I got to watch them later, but I always try to tap in and watch as many as possible. Dank in the building. What's good? Seahawks, Bills. Could happen. Could happen. Intentional grounding there on Geno. 13-yard penalty. Self-inflicted wounds. And obviously that's going to lead to a handoff up the middle. And another stalled drive by the Raiders. And now things are getting chippy. And again, whoever's offensive line and defensive line was going to be better was going to win this game. And both offensive lines have been bad. Both defensive lines have been amazing. And again, it's Nick Benito going against Max Crosby. And again, who's going to end up imposing their will the most? And again, you're just not able to be this bad on offense without defenses, playing out of their minds, and normally Geno and Bo are better than this. But again, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And blocked punt, and the Denver Broncos recover. Wow. Yeah, but the thing is, you can be a Seahawks homer, and if it was in previous years, there would be no chance of them making the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. But this year, they actually look like they have a chance to make the NFC Championship game this year. So, again, there's going to be a lot of competition with the Rams, the Packers, the Lions, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, but they are, one of the top 5-6 teams in the NFC, and, you're going to have just as good of a chance as me on getting to that game as well. Could end up being Seahawks Eagles, Seahawks Lions, or Seahawks Bucks. You never know. Big blocked punt there, and let's see if Denver can finally capitalize. It depends on who the Colts and Patriots play against. If they play the Ravens, the Steelers, the Jags, a team like that, they could win. But if they play the Chiefs or the Bills, that might be a loss. But again, you never know. The Bills and the Chiefs are beatable this year. So, again, if they can play great offense and great defense, you might get one of those teams, maybe not both, but maybe one out of the Colts or Patriots might be able to pull off an upset, and maybe the other would just be happy that they got there, but, might not be able to beat the opponent. Second down and 12 after that 2-yard loss by Bo Nix. Shotgun set for Bo. Steps up in the pocket and throw to that corner end zone, incomplete. Him and the intended tight end receiver not on the same page there. Third down and 12 for the Broncos. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed is a great deep threat. And again, Darnold has been slinging it on a very high level this year. So that'll either be someone that, will get double teamed with the safety over the top, and that'll open it up even more for JSN and Horton and a few of the others. Or, it'll end up, being a double team to JSN and one-on-one with Shaheed, and that'll turn into touchdowns. Little screen pass. Whether it ends up being a decoy for Seattle or, a guy that actually gets the ball a little bit more than we think, it's going to be a good fit. And pass incomplete to Ingram there. And now it's fourth down, and you got to kick the field goal by Will Lutz. But again, both offensive lines are not really doing a great job. And obviously Gino and Bo are a little bit to blame here as well with their decision making. 32-yard field goal attempt, a little bit easier here for Lutz. And that one is good. 10-7 Broncos. Lutz has been obviously with Sean Payton since his Saints days. There we go, Will. Nice job, Will. 10-7 with 5 seconds left in the third. And even though the Bills defense, isn't very good, again, Josh Allen really is. Cook it really is. And again, this could be the year that the Bills finally represent the AFC. The only problem is, what happens if the Bills make it with Josh Allen and they don't? And that could be a real possibility as well, especially if they play a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. And if the Eagles play the Bills, obviously a lot of America will be going for Josh Allen. He's a very likable guy, and the Bills are very likable, unless you're a Chief fan like Chief will Chief. But, I think a lot of people are rooting for Josh Allen to get that, first championship at some point before he retires. But again, the teams are more well-rounded, and, Allen, can dominate the, bad defenses and the teams that are mid. But what happens if you go against a powerhouse D like the Eagles? Or do you have enough, with your ground game, with your legs and Cook on the ground and your arm to be able to beat a team like that? We don't know. And this could be the year that we possibly see that matchup. End of the third quarter after that 27-yard return, first down and 10 at the Vegas 31. And let's see if the Raiders can get a field goal or get a touchdown here in the fourth. And that's why it makes the NFL so much fun. That, you know, it's such a well-rounded league that you don't really know. It's not, you know, oh, Mahomes and the Chiefs are automatically going, or Tom Brady and the Patriots are going, and one spot is already pretty much like, you know what it's going to be, and then there's only room on the NFC side for a team, and we don't know, you know, whoever gets hot at the right time and who's healthy. But now, you know, it's like, instead of the Chiefs automatically, you know, penciling them in, now it's like, okay, kind of feels like it's a little bit more open this year. And, you know, obviously teams like, obviously the Denver Broncos are salivating at the opportunity, but more so Josh Allen, you know, because he's been eliminated by the Chiefs 4 times out of the last 5 years. So, you know, if anyone is hungry to get there, you know, more than the other teams, it's definitely the Bills. All right, first down and 10, man in motion. Little play action bootleg, Geno, and gets tripped up by the Bronco defense, short minimal gain. Yeah, and the problem about, you know, Burrow, he's starting to turn into Andrew Luck, you know, where it's like he's elite, you know, but again, he's so injury prone. And then the defense is absolutely terrible, you know, for the Bengals, besides like T-Rex, Trey Hendrickson. So if the Bengals could ever, you know, end up getting a defense, you know, with him and Jamar Chase, and they really haven't been the same without Joe Mixon either. But, you know, you would assume, you know, if Burrow and Chase can be healthy and actually have a defense and they can play a full season, you know, you would assume at some point, you know, that they would be able to get back to another Super Bowl. But again, you know, the defense is nowhere near that Super Bowl team that lost, you know, to the Rams a few years ago and Aaron Donald's last year. Burrow is definitely very likable, but it's starting to kind of turn into that Andrew Luck situation where, you know, you're a top 5 quarterback when you're healthy, but how often are you healthy? You know, it's like every other year you're out for the year, or you're out for half of the year, and that's not ideal. It's definitely a funner league when Burrow is healthy, for sure. I agree. And Geno gets caught from behind there by Nick Benito and is injured on the play, and hopefully he's okay. (10-7) Broncos. It's about time for Cortland Sutton to get an opportunity. Troy Franklin already cashed in with his touchdown from Bo Nix. And Will Lutz giving them the field goal. 10-7 Denver. Pete and Geno, they need the win, but unfortunately, they're not going to get it. I would be very surprised if the Raiders end up winning this game. I mean, the only way I can see the Raiders winning this game is if they end up getting a pick 6 or a fumble for a touchdown. You know, if they get something like that, yeah, then they might end up winning. But if Bo is clean in the fourth quarter, you know, he normally plays like a top, 5 quarterback in the fourth quarter, and they have some of the best fourth quarter numbers in the NFL. They're terrible in the first, second, and third, but they're amazing in the fourth. And we'll see if that continues here today as Geno is limping to the sideline. Not a good look for Pete Carroll and the Raiders. And he gets landed on after the play is pretty much wrapped up there. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Man in motion. Hand off up the middle. And great defense there by the Denver Broncos. Arguably the best defense in the game. And now you got Kenny Pickett, Mr. Small Hands, from Pitt and the former Steeler quarterback. 15 touchdowns, 14 picks. No, they won't can Pete. They'll keep him for a couple years. You already, understand that this team is at the bottom of the division, when he inherited the job. So, it's going to take a couple years. And even then, they still might not be able to go 10-7. But, you're not going to get a better option, than Pete, more than likely. So it's just about getting Pete's guys. And, hopefully that guys can stay healthy. Geno, Brock Bowers, Genty, Max Crosby, and then adding some more pieces. So, he hasn't even completed his first year, dude. Everyone wants instant results, but it doesn't work like that. You have to give, certain people time, and obviously the NFL typically doesn't. They usually, what have you done for me lately? But again, it takes time to be able to build a contender. Can't do it overnight, especially if you inherit garbage. If you inherit garbage, you can't expect garbage to turn into gold right away. So, besides Crosby and, Genty and a few pieces that aren't garbage, but there definitely are some pieces that need to be upgraded and some. Flag on the play. I'm going to go check up on my pup and grab a water here for the last 14 minutes of the fourth quarter. 10-7 Broncos. Player out of bounds on the kick. First down and 10 at the Denver 33. Broncos up 10-7 with 13:50 to go. Not sure if we anticipated it being, such a low-scoring affair, but I knew the defenses were going to show up. I knew it was going to be a trap game for Denver. Didn't really expect a whole lot, from either offense, but I assumed we would be higher than 10-7 at this point. But we still got 13:50 to go, and there's still a chance that Denver could hit 20 before this one is over. And for the Raiders, again, they definitely need a pick six or a fumble for a touchdown to kind of get back into this game. And then obviously we don't even know if Geno is coming back in, and if it ends up being Kenny Pickett, it may be the beginning of the end already for the Raiders. Gino coming out of the medical tent there. Shotgun set for Nix. And a little hitch route there to Cortland Sutton for a short game. And they definitely need to go to a little bit more Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton. Obviously, we know Troy Franklin got the touchdown earlier today. 4-yard gain from Nix to Sutton. Snowden in coverage there for the Raiders. 2nd down and 6 at the Denver 37. Nix under center. 3 wide receiver set. Play action. Bo going long, going deep, one-on-one, and overthrown and incomplete. That was better than his double coverage throw that ended up getting picked off earlier in the game. Pass incomplete. And that one went over Troy Franklin's head. And, the throw's got to be better. The timing a little off between Troy Franklin and Bo Nix, even though they had great chemistry at Oregon, being teammates. 3rd down and 6 at the Denver 37. Shotgun set. Trips left. Raiders bringing the blitz. Bo. And he just throws it away. Incomplete. And that's kind of the story of this whole game. Like you got, 2 downs to run or throw. And then on 3rd and 4th down, each team is bringing the blitz and bringing the house. And then you just don't get any plays for positive yardage. It just turns into punts left and right. So, it's like you can run on 1st down or throw on 1st down. You can run on 2nd down or throw on 2nd down. But it doesn't matter what you do on 3rd and 4th down. If you're going for the run, it's going to end up being a loss, or no gain. If you throw it on 3rd and 4th down, which they are, you're not getting anything either. You're getting, either sack lunched, you're throwing it out of bounds, or you're getting chased. There's just not enough time. Both offensive lines are getting dominated by the Broncos and Raiders D-line. Broncos with the punt. And there's a flag. I assume that'll be a block in the back, a little chip block there. Illegal block in the back by the Raiders. I love defense. I'm a defensive fan first, but even with that being said, any, true defensive fan like myself, wants the score to be higher than 10-7. Like, even like watching baseball, if you have a pitcher's duel and it's like 1-1, that's great. When each guy's got 10, 11, 12 Ks and you're going that route, but even for every defensive fan that loves, the grind, you also like to be able to see some offensive output, home runs, touchdowns, big plays, on offense. And hopefully we'll get a few before the game is up. Are you at home or are you on the road, Chief Will Chief? Thursday night, the Jets and the Patriots. And again, I'm not really too excited to see the Jets. I wish the Patriots were playing someone like the Buccaneers on Thursday night, but I'm really excited to watch Drake May and see what they can do. And again, a trap game for them against the Jets, but hopefully we'll be able to see Drake May sling it and fling it. I appreciate that, Minnie. I mean, every dollar counts, and I appreciate that. Gino, little play action fake. And Gino throws deep, one-on-one, and caught. First down, Raiders. Move the chains. I was actually looking at my Canada viewership, and obviously we gained a lot during the World Series and the Mariner run, in the playoffs, against the Blue Jays. And, it started off with like 5%, then 10%, and then now, we're 20% of the viewership on the channel is from Canada, which is pretty cool. First down and 10 at the Vegas 35 after that 25-yard gain. Little screen pass to Ashton Genty. Slips through one tackler and another, and then ends up getting gang tackled there by the Broncos. Second down. Yeah, I'm glad Gino came back too, because Kenny Pickett ain't going to fucking do you anything. Brock Bowers needs to get the ball. Cortland Sutton on the Broncos needs to get the ball, and we'll see if those impact players will, find a way to help their teams win. 4-yard pass to Genty there. Second down and 6 at the Vegas 39. Shotgun set by Gino. Looking. Wide open. And Tyler Lockett, obviously his former teammate on the Seahawks, with the big catch. Gino wiggling on the ground and limping. And a big hit here on Geno Smith. Zach Allen pounds him. Ooh, Jesus. And we already know he's got kind of a knee and leg issue. And what's he do? Wrap him up on the knee and legs and kind of whips him around. Hopefully Geno's okay. First down and 10 after that 19-yard catch for Lockett. Ufunga and Allen with the coverage. First down and 10 at the Denver 42. Handoff up the middle. And Genty with a gain of 1 or none. Good defense there by Denver. Geno's still hobbling there in the backfield for the Las Vegas Raiders. One-yard gain for Ashton Genty, the Boise State Bronco rookie running back. Second down and 9 at the Denver 41. Shotgun set, screen pass, and Lockett with the short gain. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing you guys this weekend, and I'm happy that you guys finally have some swagger, post Tom and Bill. It's the first time, that it feels different, and I'm glad that you guys are playing some good football. It finally feels like you guys have an identity and a swagger post Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and Gronk, and that's a great thing to see. 1-yard pass to Lockett. Third down and 8 at the Denver 40. Shotgun set. 3 wide receiver set. Geno, blitz coming, avoids a sack lunch, flips it, and goes down. 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for another sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Especially with Geno's knee being an issue. It's not like he can run away. I mean, he's hobbling out there. And it's like every third and fourth down, you're getting blitzes by either team. I mean, even when they only bring 4, you're not going to be able to get rid of the football. Fourth down and 11 after that sack from Franklin Myers at the Denver 43. I mean, especially with Ramondre Stevenson being injured, and you got Demario Douglas and a few other options, but they definitely have found a good chemistry over there. I Diggs has made every quarterback, whether it be at Minnesota, with Kirk Cousins or others, and then obviously having his, time and each destination, it may not be a forever, type of thing, but again, obviously helped Josh Allen, take his career to another level, and obviously now helping Drake May do the same. False start there. 4th down and 16, and Raiders with the punt. And they've been able to get a few of those punts to go down at the 1 or the 2, but not that one, and that will be a touchback. But if you're looking at the games this weekend, Patriots-Buccaneers will be one of the top 3 games of the weekend. There's no doubt about that. The rest of the schedule is pretty light. Rams-Niners, you would assume would be somewhat competitive. Steelers-Chargers, same thing. And then Eagles-Packers on Monday night. So, the Pats-Buccaneer game could potentially be one of the best games, if not the best game, depending on how Drake May and Baker Mayfield play. And we'll see how that all plays out. 7-2 Patriots, 4-0 on the road. 6-2 Buccaneers, 2-1 at home. And obviously our injuries are a little bit more significant than New England's, but we'll see how it goes. Seriously. But maybe that's destiny. Maybe it's better that you guys come off as wild card teams and then you still end up making it to the AFC Championship game, but just kind of in a different way. You can end up giving a 1 or 2 seed to, the Denver Broncos or the Colts or the New England Patriots. But again, we don't really know how these teams are going to respond. We know Denver obviously has already been to the playoffs, but as far as the Colts and the Patriots this year, we don't really know how far they can go. Again, the inexperience, could end up being a factor, if they end up, winning a game or 2, or they just get to the playoffs and lose that first round. So 10-7 Broncos over the Raiders. 8:35 left in the 4th quarter. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Steelers-Chargers is going to be good because both teams are, borderline playoff teams. We assume the Ravens will eventually leapfrog the Steelers, and we assume that the Chargers eventually, with no Alt or Slater on the line, will eventually start sliding down. But at the time, right now, both are in the mix, for the playoffs, and the winner, obviously, it'll be huge for them. The loser, it's going to hurt really bad. It's a must-win game, for the Chargers as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers based on who they play. Toby in the building. What's good? No CJ Stroud, so definitely a winnable game. Second down and 5. High snap for Bo Nix. And hands it off. And gets a minimal gain there for RJ Harvey. Harvey with a no gain. 3rd down and 5 at the Denver 25. Yeah, I did see that Murray was on IR as well. Shotgun set for Nix. Pocket is clean for once. Tipped. Intercepted. Wow. And you get one tipped interception for the Bronco defense and a tipped interception for the Raider defense. Wow. Second pick for Kelly, and some of the Bronco fans throw trash. And Troy Franklin needs to be better there. You know, Ashton Genty was the reason one interception happened, and here Troy Franklin, it's in your hands, and if it goes up in the air, these teams are very evenly matched, even though the Broncos are 7-2 and the Raiders are 2-6. First down and 10. Gino out there on one leg, hands off. And Genty gains about 5 or 6, running with that halfback dive. Gino on one leg, trying to will his team to a victory in this trap game for the Denver Broncos. Yeah, but again, Kenny Pickett, do you really trust Kenny Pickett? Second down and 4 at the Denver 39. I assume this will be another handoff to Genty. And it is. And Genty, with those strong legs, moves forward. First down, Raiders. Move the chains. And this is a great example of like a pitcher's duel in baseball, where it's just the defense and the pitching is just elite, and you can't really get anything going with any of the hitters. And same thing is going here today. A 10-7 game. It's very an underwhelming score. Defenses are playing great, offenses not so much. And hand off to Genty again, and Genty is going to end up getting an injury if they keep going to him with these halfback dives with these very physical Bronco players on the front seven, especially when they know that Gino is not going to throw it because of his injury. Tyler in the building. What's good? I told people on the channel that we were going to win last night. Even though we were down by 22 in the first quarter. Blazers are definitely an up-and-coming squad, that's for sure. Second down and 7 at the Denver 31. And guess what? Another handoff to Genty. Minimal gain. Third down. Yeah, that's why the NFL and fantasy football are so hard, to gauge. You just don't really know if the player is going to have a 50-point, game, or if they're going to shit the bed and be at like 5. Just the flow of the game, is definitely, making a lot of the weapons in fantasy put up lower numbers, especially if you got Raider or Bronco players here tonight. Third down and 6 on the Denver 30. Shotgun set for Gino. They're bringing blitz like they usually do. Benito, and throws out of bounds, incomplete. And that's pretty much been the story. Third down, fourth down blitz. Neither quarterback can complete a pass. And then if they do, it usually turns into a tipped interception or something worse. Someone was going to beat you, Captain. It's not like you guys were going to go 82-0. Field goal attempt here on fourth down and 6. 48-yarder here for the Raiders. Kick is up. And no good. Wow. Field goal kickers. Carlson, not good. Lutz, not good. Both with misses here today. And Denver hangs on with a 3-point lead. Yeah, and also you guys, didn't have Caruso or Chet, Holmgren. So if you guys have those two players, maybe it's a different story. But the Blazers did shoot 80% in the fourth quarter, which is not normal. And we played with a lot of heart and found a way to come back and win that game. So it's nice to be able to see, the Blazers play with effort, and I do think they're a playoff team this year. Field goal missed by Daniel Carlson, 48-yarder, 10-7 Broncos. And it's not like we don't have weapons, on offense that can get the job done normally, but the problem is if the defense, blitzes every single time on 3rd and 4th down, right? And you don't have any time for either quarterback, Bo Nix or Geno Smith to make plays, then, it's a lot of just throws out of bounds where you're chasing, they're chasing, down the quarterback and you're just kind of running for your life. And again, the defense for both teams have been great. Offense, not so much. And hopefully when we end up doing more Blazer streams, or if we end up doing an occasional Kraken stream, hopefully we get some support. And it'll take some time to build, the audience and whatnot. But, we gained over, 7,000 views. And obviously that's mostly in part to the Blazers playing the Thunder and obviously being the number 1 team in the NBA at the time and 8-0 and still a great team, and again, hopefully, I was looking at the schedule. There are going to be quite a few Blazer games on like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that does kind of fill in the gaps when we end up doing Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night for the NFL, college football on Fridays and Saturdays. And then we'll have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday kind of open. And, there will be some college football sometimes on Friday, like tomorrow. We could do USC Northwestern, which is kind of at the top of the list, but I'll look at the, NBA to see if there's anything worth doing, but I'm thinking we'll probably do USC. And then Saturday we'll do Oregon versus Iowa, which should be a war. And then Steelers and Chargers on Sunday night, and then Eagles and Packers on Monday night. And then once we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll probably end up doing another Blazer stream, next week. So, and I am going to see Wemby on the day before Thanksgiving here at Moda in Portland. Super excited about that. Hopefully Wemby does not get hurt, because we got tickets to see him last year and he got hurt like right before we went. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I would love to see Wemby in person. First down and 10. Handoff up the middle. J.K. Dobbins wobbling and a bumbling. Gain of about 8 yards there. And we're going to make a day of it. Probably hit the arcade, probably hit a pizza or chicken spot up. Probably won't have time to do Voodoo Donuts unless we do that after the Blazer game is over. But, realistically, probably not. But we went last time, so. But arcade, good food, Blazer game, Wemby, day before Thanksgiving. Sounds awesome. 8-yard run there by J.K. Dobbins. Devin White, the former Buccaneer, in there with the tackle with Mao. Second down and 2 at the Denver 46. Nix under center. Handoff. And a good tackle there by the Raiders. Yeah. And it was funny because, you get, certain people, just assuming, Thunder are going to win by 60, and when we got down by 22, in the first quarter, I was like, oh God, first NBA stream and we're getting absolutely obliterated. But I felt that, eventually, we would kind of chip away and we would get hot, especially with guys like Drew Holiday on the team. And it's not like we have Scoot Henderson or Dame Lillard available at the moment, but, Denny Advia is an all-star this year. Nice pass down the sideline, first down, Broncos. But Denny is an all-star. Shaden Sharp is an up-and-coming stud. Drew Holiday still has game. Donovan Clingan is fun to watch. We got Jeremy Grant off the bench averaging 20. So it's like we got a squad this year, and I'll have a lot of fun calling the Blazer games since I obviously invested in Blazer Vision, which is $20 a month, which is something that I didn't really want to pay for, but it's the only way that I can watch it on the NBA app or on NBA.com. So if I want to try to be able to get the games live rather than watching a streaming link and being behind, you can't really, do a stream that way. So, I guess you can, but you're going to be behind. So, and flag on the play. I'm looking forward to watching Drake May. I mean, obviously it's a trap game, and we assume the Jets are going to be terrible. But hopefully, the Patriots will show us that they are the real deal, and maybe the Jets will keep it a little bit closer, early on, and then the Pats will eventually, get the victory, like possibly this Denver and Raider game. But hopefully, it'll be more points than 10-7 next week, and I do believe it will be. 5-yard penalty there. I mean, nothing's better than being able to hang out with my best friend and being able to, because we only hang out like once a month, type of thing. I'm usually working nonstop, and he is as well. But we love the game, and we love to hit up the arcade. And, before we hit the Blazer game up, they got a 2-story arcade that is pretty killer, and it's not just pinball. They got, normal, games that have come out within the last 5 to 10 years. And then, Star Wars, NBA Hang Time, NFL Blitz, Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, NBA Hang Time. I mean, a little bit of everything. Shooters, sports games, racing games. Love to be able to, have a couple hours to get the gaming in. Ninja Turtles, Sunset Riders, whatever it is, Simpsons, X-Men. We always try to beat at least one game every time we go, and we're usually successful in that. Sometimes we beat 2 games, but then that takes up a lot of quarters and money. Obviously it's they've kind of changed it to like the kind of debit card type thing where you get your own card for the arcade, pay 10 or 20 bucks and scan the card, and a lot of arcades are built that way now, where you actually have a card that you use, that money is put into. And you can drink there too if you like to drink, which is nice, and they have food as well. So, and they got the custom cup holders on the arcade, so if you got like a beer or like a mixed drink, you can put it in there while you game, and you don't have to worry about it spilling, which is nice. Timeout called by the Raiders. Yeah, but the Sonics will be back. They are going to be one of the 2 expansion teams more than likely. So, and then the I-5 rivalry will be back between the Sonics and the Blazers, and the Sonics, Blazers, and the Lakers, which will be awesome. 3rd down and inches. Bo Nix with the sneak. They don't need a tush push for him. 1st down, Broncos. Move the chains. Nice job by Bo getting that 1st down. Dave in the building. How are you? Yeah. And again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so the NBA now is nowhere near as exciting as it was. It is cool that they do have it on NBC again with the old school theme that I grew up watching. Again, I mean, I can watch the Blazers because I've been watching them my whole life, but I'm not really one of those people that's going to go out of my way to watch other people play unless, there's a reason for me to. So. Yeah, he's got a dispensary in Seattle now, so that kind of makes sense. Lots of people go there. Handoff up the middle. And if you ever try to rob Sean Kemp, he'll come after you. Ended up going to court after he tried to chase someone down after they tried to break into his establishment and vehicle and whatnot. So Sean Kemp don't play around. Second down and 3 at the Vegas 18. 2 minutes to go here in the 4th quarter. 10-7 Broncos. Genty looks defeated. He looks like he wants to go back to Boise State. I like the Raider beanie there with the gray and the black pom-pom on the top. That's a kind of a cool look. NFL has been making some pretty fire beanies lately. And I did like a lot of the Mariner, beanies, which normally, it's baseball hats and whatnot. But, every once in a while in like a pregame or postgame presser, you would see Julio or some of the players with the Mariner beanie. I don't own one yet, but I do want to get one. I have seen a few that look pretty fire. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 2nd down and 3 here with the 2-minute warning. And it has been an ugly game, but again, as long as the Broncos win at this point, that's all they care about, improving to 8-2. And again, their record in one-score games, again, has been the difference between them being good this year and having a good record compared to last year where they were not good in one-score games. Still ended up having a pretty good team, but not as good as this year. Yeah, and his dispensary is big. It's got murals of him, when he used to play, like artist in the, Seattle area. You'll see murals of like Marshawn Lynch and, certain players, that played, in the Seattle area. I got a few photos on my phone. I think they did like Walter Jones and a few other individuals, an old Sonic player from when they won the championship as Bo kneels it down. And that looks like it might be the game here. I don't think we anticipated a 10-7 final, but yeah. Also, Sean Kemp loved the women, had like, 10, 11, 12 baby mamas with, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 kids. So, at some point you just got to stop. But I guess for Kemp, he's like Nick Cannon. Can't stop, won't stop. Keep having kids. Too many kids. And I highly doubt that those guys are, paying attention to every kid they're fathering. And that is it on the kneel down. Final score, Broncos 10, Raiders 7. And again, wasn't anticipating a low-scoring affair like this. And I do love defense, but I definitely want some more offense on the board. Definitely was a very underwhelming game, but it's better than the Broncos winning 30-0, in my opinion. So, it is what it is. But shout out to all the people that liked, subbed, donated, commented, shared. Appreciate you guys very much. Shout out to obviously Captain and Chief Will Chief for helping us out on the Dono train, as well as TJ and the rest to be able to help us out with the likes. Marine Bean, Judah, Dank, Chief Will Chief, Dave, Toby, Captain. Appreciate all you guys very, very much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And we'll be live tomorrow for USC and Northwestern, unless I decide to do something else. It kind of depends to see what's on the slate. Love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very much. And I got one question for you. Well, talk sports like us. Final score, Broncos 10, Raiders 7, and I'm out. Okay.